There comes a time when running is no longer an option. You feel the tug in your heart, the whisper in your spirit, and yet you keep finding reasons to delay, to hide, to postpone the inevitable. But deep down, you know it. God has been calling you. You can ignore the noise of the world, but you cannot silence His voice. It's time to stop running and start walking in purpose. Every person on this planet was born with a divine assignment. Your gifts, your pain, your story, they are not random. They were designed by God to serve a higher purpose. The problem is, many of us spend years trying to escape that calling, thinking we're unworthy, unready, or unable. But your calling is not about your ability. It's about your obedience. When you run from God, you may find temporary comfort, but you'll never find peace. Jonah tried to run from God's voice and ended up in the belly of a great fish. You can run from people, but not from your purpose. The longer you hide, the louder His call becomes. God doesn't give up on what He created. So today, let's talk about that voice inside you, the one you keep ignoring. This video will walk you through 10 chapters of reflection, conviction, and renewal, helping you understand why you were chosen and how to finally say yes to God's plan for your life. You've heard it in the quiet moments, that gentle whisper that says, "This is not who you were supposed to be." It echoes when the world goes silent. It speaks in your sleepless nights and in the middle of your busy days. It interrupts your distractions, piercing through your excuses with love and persistence. That voice is not your imagination. It's the Creator reminding you that you are made for more than survival. God's voice doesn't compete with the chaos. It invites you into peace. Sometimes He speaks through circumstances, through a sermon, through a stranger's words, or even through your own failures. You can't always explain it, but you can feel it. That unshakable sense that you were designed for something sacred. When God calls, it's not to limit you. It's to release the truest version of who you are. That's why the voice doesn't fade. You might drown it out with busyness, with entertainment, with relationships, or with work, but it finds its way back every single time. It's patient because God is patient. He doesn't shout to scare you. He whispers to draw you closer. Each whisper is an act of grace, an invitation to realign your life with divine purpose. The moment you stop fighting that voice, peace begins to replace confusion. You realize that the feeling you've been calling restlessness was really your soul longing to return home. When you finally listen, you'll see that the same God who created galaxies is the same one calling your name, not to condemn you, but to commission you. Running gives the illusion of control. It makes you feel powerful, as if you can outrun destiny with distance. But the truth is, you can't outrun what God has written. You can change locations, careers, or even relationships, but the calling remains fixed in heaven. Every step away from it only deepens the emptiness inside. Jonah ran to Tarshish thinking he could escape God's plan. Moses hid behind excuses, claiming his speech made him unqualified. Elijah fled into the wilderness when fear overwhelmed him. Yet God pursued every one of them, not to punish them, but to remind them that purpose doesn't disappear because of fear or failure. What God started, He intends to finish. When you run, you delay your own peace. You begin to notice that the things that once satisfied you don't anymore. The job that seemed perfect feels hollow. The relationship that looked fulfilling starts to feel shallow. It's because when you run from your calling, you leave your true identity behind. You may look successful to others, but inside, you feel lost. God's grace doesn't chase you to shame you. It chases you to restore you. He allows you to run so that you'll discover there's nowhere safer than His will. The same God who waited for Jonah to surrender is waiting for you, not with anger, but with open arms. Because your calling is not about where you are, it's about who you belong to. Fear is the silent thief of purpose. It sneaks in through doubt, whispers lies into your confidence, and convinces you that obedience will cost more than it's worth. Fear says, you'll fail. They'll reject you. You're not good enough. And the more you listen, the smaller you feel. But fear is a liar. It magnifies your weaknesses while minimizing God's strength. Fear paralyzes potential. It stops people with great visions from ever taking their first step. It convinces you to staying comfortable is safer than walking into the unknown. But what if the unknown is where your miracle waits? What if the very thing you fear is the doorway to your next level? Every giant you face is proof that you're standing at the edge of your promised land. You're not truly afraid of failing. You're afraid of being seen, of being responsible for the greatness inside you. That's exactly the point. God calls you to things you cannot do alone, so that you'll depend on Him. The cure for fear isn't courage, it's faith. Faith doesn't mean you stop feeling afraid. It means you move anyway. When you take that first trembling step, heaven moves with you. The walls of fear crumble, one act of obedience at a time. Your comfort zone is silent but deadly. It tells you you're doing fine, even when you're spiritually starving. It gives you routine, but it robs you of revelation. Comfort convinces you that convenience is better than calling, but nothing grows where you refuse to be stretched. God will sometimes make your comfort zone uncomfortable to wake you up. He'll shake what you've been depending on so that you remember who your true source is. When doors close, when friends fade, when plans collapse, it's often not rejection, but redirection. God is saying, you've stayed here long enough. It's time to move. Every major story of transformation begins with disruption. Abraham had to leave his homeland. Joseph had to be betrayed. Elijah fled into the wilderness when fear overwhelmed him. Yet God pursued every one of them, not to punish them, but to remind them that purpose doesn't disappear because of fear or failure. What God started, He intends to finish. Disobedience always comes with a hidden cost. It doesn't destroy you instantly. It drains you gradually. You lose your peace, your joy, your sense of direction. You wake up every day knowing there's more, but you can't seem to reach it. That's what happens when you walk away from the voice of God. Life becomes loud, but empty. Jonah's story is not just about a man and a fish. It's about the consequences of resistance. When Jonah refused to obey, the storm didn't just threaten him, it endangered everyone around him. Your obedience affects more people than you realize. There are lives connected to your yes. When you delay your purpose, you delay someone else's breakthrough.
God sometimes allows storms, not to destroy you, but to correct you. The chaos around you might be His way of getting your attention. You can't find peace in disobedience because you were never meant to live outside His will. The storm is His mercy in disguise, a wake-up call wrapped in waves. But the beauty of grace is that it's never too late to turn back. The moment Jonah prayed, the fish released him. The same God who allowed the storm also provided the way out. When you surrender, peace floods your heart again. Disobedience may delay your purpose, but it cannot cancel it, not when you return with a humble heart. If you've ever thought you were too flawed for God to use, remember this. Every great person in the Bible had a story full of brokenness. Abraham doubted God's promise. Moses murdered a man before becoming a leader. David committed terrible sins, yet was still called a man after God's own heart. Peter denied Jesus 3 times, but later became the rock on which the church was built. God doesn't pick the perfect, He redeems the imperfect. Your weaknesses are not your disqualification, they are your training ground. Every failure, every wound, every scar has been preparing you for something greater. The things you regret the most might be the very things God will use to heal others. You think your past makes you unusable, but God sees it as a platform for His power. He takes what was broken and turns it into a testimony of His grace. The world celebrates strength, but God works best through surrender. When you admit, "I can't do this without you," heaven moves. That's when God's power begins to flow through you. His glory shines brightest through cracked vessels because light escapes through the cracks. You don't need to be flawless, you just need to be faithful. So stop running because of shame. Stop hiding because of guilt. God knew your flaws before He called you. He doesn't choose you because you're qualified. He qualifies you because He chose you. Every wound becomes a weapon in the hands of grace. Your calling is beautiful, but it's not always easy. Purpose will cost you something. Your comfort, your pride, your time, your convenience. You cannot hold on to everything and still walk in divine direction. To follow God's plan, you must let go of anything that keeps you small. Every yes to God will require a no to something else. Sacrifice isn't punishment, it's preparation. Every act of surrender clears space for something greater. Abraham had to leave his homeland without knowing where he was going. Joseph had to be betrayed to reach the palace. Ruth had to leave everything familiar to find her destiny. The path to purpose always passes through the valley of letting go. You might lose friends, opportunities, or even approval, but you'll gain peace, clarity, and divine strength. God removes what you think you need so He can give you what you truly need. Sometimes obedience hurts before it heals. The tears you cry now will water the seeds of your future harvest. Remember, Jesus' obedience cost Him the cross, but it brought resurrection power to the world. Your sacrifice is never wasted. God counts every tear, hears every sigh, and honors every step of faith. Nothing you give up for Him will ever go unrewarded. Surrender is not weakness, it's strength in its purest form. It takes more courage to surrender than to run. To surrender means to stop fighting God's will and start trusting His wisdom. It means saying, "I don't understand it all, but I believe You know what's best for me." That is where true peace begins. When you finally surrender, the weight that's been pressing on your chest begins to lift. You no longer have to control every outcome or fix every detail. You start walking with a quiet confidence that says, "God's got this." Your spirit rests because it knows the one in charge never fails. Surrender transforms your anxiety into assurance. Many people mistake surrender for defeat, but in God's kingdom, surrender is victory. The moment you let go, heaven takes over. The things you've been chasing begin to chase you. Doors that were once closed start opening effortlessly. Because what you release in faith, God multiplies in grace. When you surrender, you discover freedom. You realize you were never meant to carry everything alone. God doesn't want control of your life to restrict you. He wants to direct you. True surrender isn't giving up on life. It's giving your life back to the one who gave it to you. When you finally say yes to God, the fog begins to clear. You start to see how every trial, delay, and disappointment was part of the preparation. The things that once broke you now make sense. You realize nothing was wasted, not the pain, not the waiting, not the tears. God used it all to shape you for this very moment. Walking in your calling doesn't mean life will suddenly become easy. You will still face challenges, but now you face them with purpose. You'll wake up each morning knowing your life matters, that what you do carries eternal weight. That sense of alignment fills your soul with strength the world can't take away. As you walk in obedience, people will notice something different about you. Your peace will confuse them. Your confidence will inspire them. You'll stop seeking validation because you'll already know who sent you. God's approval will outweigh every human opinion. That's when you know you're walking in purpose, when you stop performing and start becoming. Walking with God transforms everything. Your job becomes ministry. Your pain becomes message. Your journey becomes testimony. Each step forward becomes proof that God can turn ordinary people into extraordinary vessels of light. This is your moment, the one you've been avoiding, the one your heart has been craving. The same voice that spoke to Moses in the desert, to Jonah in the storm, and to Mary in the quiet room is speaking to you right now. It's saying, "Stop running, come home. I still want to use you." God hasn't changed his mind about you. You've been running from fear, from failure, from expectations, but you can't outrun grace. The same God who called you yesterday is calling again today. He hasn't disqualified you because of your mistakes. He's inviting you to turn them into miracles. He's not asking for perfection. He's asking for permission to work through you. Don't wait for the perfect time. The perfect time is the moment you decide to obey. Once you say yes, heaven aligns with your life. The peace you've been searching for will rush in like a river. The provision, the strength, the opportunities, they will all begin to flow when you finally stop resisting and start responding. So today, right now, whisper it. Yes, Lord, I'm done running. That single act of surrender can change everything. It can rewrite your future, heal your past, and reveal your true purpose. The world is waiting for your yes. God is waiting for your heart. Answer his voice. Your destiny depends on it.